In the headlines, 2 men dead following foul play at Fowl Bay. Pan-Africanists commit to mentor students at the Grantley Adams Memorial School. The members of NUPW voted for new leadership today. And in sports, wickets tumbled today in St. Lucia as neither the Windward Islands nor Barbados could establish dominance.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Tisha Hines. We start this evening with breaking news. Barbados is among scores of nations on which the United States has imposed new trade tariffs. U.S. President Donald Trump just hours ago followed through on his threat to do just that, revealing broad reciprocal duties on all U.S. trade partners. He announced that all foreign countries would face a baseline of 10% tariff, which is what has been imposed on Barbados. However, several other nations have been hit with steeper tariffs on imports. And joining us live now to tell us just how this development will impact the Barbadian economy is Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn. Good evening to you, Minister. Thanks for joining us. What is your take on the implementation of this 10% tariff?
Good evening, Tisha. Good evening to your viewers. Well, first of all, the United States government has followed through on its promise to introduce these tariffs globally, and to the extent that Barbados and Barbadian products that are exported into the United States will now face a 10% duty. And therefore that means that many Barbadians and those in the diaspora who consume ordinary products from Morby to Tiger Malts to pepper sauce, you name it, will now see at the border the application of a 10% increase. That would ordinarily mean that consumers in the United States, Bajan consumers and those in the diaspora, will be paying more for Barbadian products. And therefore, in addition to everything else that I see in the list here, it means that everybody in the United States will be paying more for every product that's imported into the United States.
So I know you mentioned Morby and some of the very popular Barbadian products, but can you anticipate what are some of these products specifically that will be impacted by this development, and even services? We know in the area of the arts, we have many artists who travel outside of Barbados.
Well, to the extent that the quantum of those exports to the United States, and of course that varies depending on the season and all of that, the reality is that everything will be impacted in terms of goods associated with these with the tariff increase. Now, what that means for the producers is that on the one hand, you have a couple of options. You either find the most efficient way to produce your products to be able to contain your costs further, which could mitigate the increase in tariff, or you can take the bold step and move as a cooperative to be able to invest directly into the United States to be able to get access to the market in order to avoid paying the tariff. And therefore, the options are available now, and I would suggest to persons that we have to utilize the full global supply chain in relation to responding to issues like this. But equally, we must ensure that we also look at other markets. So once we focus on efficiency, we also have to look at other markets in order to get into the space. The government has already invested significantly in the food science center here at Newton. And therefore, I would urge Barbadians, especially those involved in food sciences, to be able to avail themselves of the facilities at Newton, not just from the perspective of reduction in relation to investing the capital, but being able to have the most efficient process, which is also meeting the standards with respect to sanitary and phytosanitary standards available for export.
So, Minister, how do you anticipate the tariffs will affect or have an impact on trade relationships, not only here in Barbados, but across CARICOM?
Well, first and foremost, I'm glad you raised that question because the United States is outside of CARICOM. and just for the benefit of viewers, there's something called the common external tariff. So goods that are produced within CARICOM are traded within CARICOM with very specific, mostly duty-free amongst member states. And we have put these tariffs in place as a measure of helping to protect domestic and regional businesses as we try to ensure that issues related to food security, as well as jobs and basic manufacturing processes can be sustained in the region. And therefore, to the extent that CARICOM, as a body, as a group, in relation to these matters, we have the common external tariff in place, of which the United States will be one of those countries that would apply, one of several countries outside of CARICOM. And therefore, I think from a regional perspective, we all will have now to ensure that, again, we focus on how do we get support, further support our producers in being able to access the full global supply chain and to be able to start to do more trade with each other. Now, within that context, and I say to Barbadians, the government of Barbados and CARICOM, we have engaged actively with the Africanists Bank to be able to do more trade with Africa, and therefore, to the extent that we can enhance our production capacity, then it means that with the impact of these products coming into the United States, it means then that there's an opportunity for us to be able to ensure that we work collaboratively together to enhance trade, not just within CARICOM itself, but as we do more trade with Africa, and certainly with respect to Latin America, I think there's some significant opportunities that we cannot miss, and therefore we have to work together and do so aggressively for the domestic producers, the regional producers, and to be able to grow our economies, I think, more sustainably in the future.
So, Minister, just to be clear, for those businesses here in Barbados that do exports, what do you anticipate would be the real challenges that they might see, or changes that they or consumers might see in the short to medium term?
Well, considering that the tariffs affect everything that is imported into the United States, then the extent to which the cost of living in the United States will increase is perhaps where the biggest anxiety will come, because to the extent that persons who are wholesalers importing these products, looking at the impact of inflation directly on consumers in the United States, will then start to make decisions in relation to what they import, how much they import, and that is something that, with respect to the relationship with your wholesalers, but certainly with respect to the market, that is, I hope that businesses would have good intelligence in relation to those persons in the diaspora who support these brands, and that those, as we are doing, we're gathering this year to be able to reconnect those who live abroad with Bajans, that we understand and appreciate that the patriotism that is exhibited by Bajans living abroad in the United States, all across the United States, and continuing to support local brands is important at this time, because it means jobs for Bajans here at home, but it equally means that to the extent that we can allow for those persons to do more investment into Barbadian production, we would want to encourage. But I think companies now have to be in direct conversation with the distributors in the United States, as well as those consumers, if they have that intelligence, to be able to ensure that they can continue to supply the market, whilst at the same time focusing on how do they more efficiently produce those products in order to further contain costs. Not just costs for them, but costs for domestic consumers here in Barbados as well.
So much for your time this evening, Minister, to clarify for all Barbadians. We thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, police are tonight still trying to piece together the circumstances surrounding the death of 2 men in St. Philip last night. Crystal Hoyt has that story.
This was the scene at Fowl Bay, St. Philip this morning. Lawmen combing the area for clues and evidence as to exactly what happened the night before, when 3 men were apparently involved in a deadly encounter. The result was 2 men dead, the other nursing stab wounds at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The deceased have been identified as 33-year-old Javan Devere Burton of 3rd Avenue, Ocean City, St. Philip, and 21-year-old Dewan Amon Niles of Hopewell, Silver Sands, Christchurch. Communications and Public Affairs Officer for the Barbados Police Service, Acting Inspector Ryan Brathwaite, provided the following statement.
About 11:18 p.m. on Tuesday, the 1st of April 2025, the police at the Operations Control received a report from a male who stated that he was involved in an altercation with another male at Fowl Bay Beach, St. Philip, and the other male was injured. The police at District C Station responded to the area, conducted a search, and discovered the lifeless bodies of 2 males with multiple stab wounds. A medical doctor visited the scene, examined both bodies, and pronounced the death of both persons.
The Barbados Police Service is appealing to anyone who may have witnessed this incident or has information about what happened to inform the authorities.
Please contact the Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-8477, Police Emergency at 211, or the District C Police Station at 416-8200 or 416-8201.
Police investigations are ongoing. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Well, coming up, fire destroys an old bar in Nelson Street. A structural fire destroyed the old Diamond Bar, Nelson Street, the city, this morning. Station officer at the Bridgetown Fire Station, Roger Bourne, says there was no source of ignition or electricity to the building, and the entryway to the building was padlocked. However, he says vagrants frequent the area and will occupy any space that has a roof. Mr. Bourne says normally they would respond to fires with 2 appliances, but given the devastating fire in Wellington Street almost a year ago, they ramped up their response.
We want to maintain the business continuity for persons, but also it is very devastating to be apart when you lose your home and it's not occupied, especially when you did not actually start the fire, but the fire now come over to you. So we just want to mitigate these situations as quickly as possible, hence for our response. We want to give kudos to the Water Authority who, when the road surface was relayed, run some new hydrants and producing fantastic pressure, and we're happy about that.
The senior fire officer says a team of 3 appliances from the Bridgetown Fire Station, Worthing Fire Station, and the Bridgetown Port, with a combined 13 fire officers, responded to the blaze. Mr. Bourne says they managed to get the fire under control quickly at the unoccupied building, which was used for housing plastic and glass bottles.
It's a old stone and shingle roof. Fortunately, it's all by itself. There were no other exposures, no other houses close enough to it that would cause an immediate damage. However, there was a car on the other side of the wall where we placed an appliance there to do 2 things. One, to stop the spread of fire from starting the car, but also to deal with the extinguishment of the fire on the northern side. Whereas on the southern side, the other 2 appliances were here, providing extinguishment to this property.
Public workers in Barbados voted today for new leadership of the National Union of Public Workers, NUPW. The race for post of president is between 3 contenders, including incumbent Kimberly Agard of the Barbados Statistical Service, Anne-Marie Brewster of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and Natalie Walthrus Jones of the Barbados Community College. Voting got underway at 6 this morning and ended at 6 this evening. Votes were cast at NUPW headquarters at Dalkeith Hill, St. Michael, the Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute of Technology, the Sanitation Service Authority at Wildy, and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, among other locations. Ms. Agard says the election is about the future of the union and the trust its members place in the current leadership.
My campaign has been built on trust, stability, and progress, showing that when we work together, we get results. We have stabilized membership, secured pay increases, and strengthened our union. But there's more to do. Once re-elected, my team and I will push for even better wages, stronger workplace protections, and new programs to empower and engage our members. The NUPW must not only defend workers' rights, but also shape a future where public servants thrive.
The winner of the election is yet to be announced. Amid calls for role models to mentor the island's youth, 9 Africanists have committed to dedicating their time to guide the students of the Grantley Adams Memorial School on the right path. They've taken up the responsibility to go into the school and work with the students through mentorship programs. They were introduced to the students during the school's African Awareness Day celebrations. Our Anesta Henry was there.
The Council of Elders will be working closely with the school to teach students important values and principles. Principal Major Andrew Skeet is applauding the cultural practitioners for coming forward to help students and not taking the stance to stand by and criticize them for their shortcomings.
They have determined that they will join that very short line of the persons who do, and they will do. And my experience with, these honorable gentlemen and lady suggests to me that they will do what is in the best interest for you.
Major Skeet says establishing the relationship with the Council of Elders is a significant step since students need to be grounded on a solid foundation.
Especially at a time where a lot of what is happening in society is affecting young people, and we need not remind you of the tragic incidents most recent. But they have determined that and they're going to help you to move away from a path, some of you, because not all of you may be going, and to bring you to that point of understanding and especially through remembrance. To engage you, as I said, in our Africanists.
Jesus is coming soon.
Are you ready?
Oh, Jesus is coming soon.
Are you ready?
Oh, coming like a thief in the night.
Are you ready?
Pan-Africanist Dr. Myrna Belger says the elders are happy and ready to start working with the students.
Because we are at a crisis level, and we cannot continue to be separated. And somebody must take the lead. And I'm saying that the young people, under the guidance of the elderly, in that cyclic connection, will lead the way.
Members of the Spiritual Baptist Church engaged with the students during a worship session.
Thank you, Anesta. And in the same vein, students at the Charles F. Broome Memorial Primary School are being urged to always be an example of peace. The message from Reverend Nicholas Chambers, who gave the address during the school's Peace Day.
I want you guys to know, boys and girls, that peace is a decision that you have to make. So boys and girls, let me ask you guys a question. If you are in class and someone is poking you with a pencil, should you tell your teacher or poke them back? Who will tell the teacher what's happening? Tell your teacher. Wonderful. So boys and girls, if you see someone in school and they're running up and down the hallway and Sir or Miss said don't do it, are you going to run with them as well? No, you're going to tell them stop running. Let me see you say stop running. Stop running. Right. And boys and girls, as Jesus said that the peace that he's going to give to us, he was talking about our relationship with God.
Well, students showcased their talents in poetry and song. They also walked the perimeter of the school field to walk for peace. The strains of John King's How Many More was being played in the background. Principal Paula Toppin says their special events committee saw a need for the initiative given the direct impact of the community on students.
Some of our students here are directly impacted. They are feeling the pain, the families are feeling the pain, and this morning we just wanted to come together to give thanks and to celebrate peace across our school compound this morning, and to reflect on the violence that we are seeing in our communities, and to remember that wherever we are across Barbados, even here in our small community of Charles F. Broome, we can be peacemakers. We can set the example. We are the persons who can spearhead this change.
Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comishong, suggests the recent trip by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to 3 CARICOM states provided countries not only with a deeper understanding of the Trump administration's position toward the Caribbean, but also how the bloc needs to respond. He weighed in on the trip during the Conversations on CARICOM segment of CBC TV8's Morning Barbados. A big issue for Mr. Rubio was the U.S. opposition to a Cuban government program that deploys medical workers to countries in need. Mr. Comishong says the Caribbean stands unified and articulated its position regarding the program.
We explained our reality. Look, this is our truth. This is our reality. This is what the interests of our people demands. And this is where we stand. And, you know, if you proceed the way you said you're going to proceed, well, you know, we won't. But this is where we stand. And that has obviously had an impression. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is a great takeaway for me. And I think an important part of it, Pearson, is that the Caribbean people were obviously behind the positions that our leaders took.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In, Pause is Power, and by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Time now for sports with Anne-Marie Burke. Welcome. Good evening to you.
KFC Deacons are the double crown kings of senior volleyball for a 6th consecutive year. They added the 2024-2025 men's league title to their already claimed knockout crown with victory over Chargers on the final night of the season.
So this was the equation. Deacons in the green needed to win to lift the title, but waiting in the wings were Foundation United, as a loss would have given them the crown. So Deacons knew they had to come good over Chargers, but Chargers were not going to make it a walk in the park, and in the early stages came out fighting. But to be sure, Deacons would put an end to it, as the Chargers' wall, though it looked effective, actually sent it out of court, and the boys in green celebrate. And that just sent Deacons into overdrive. The service picked up. Chargers not quite setting up the play. It's passed back to Deacons. They now go at it. And Akeem Mears is the man to deliver the power shot. And it was so nice. Mears delivered twice. Down the line he goes. Not to say Chargers were totally out of it. This wall was no match for Johan Branford. But Deacons will take first dibs. This ace from Mears sealed the first set at 21-19. Looking to claim the second and even things up, Chargers started with a vengeance. But Deacons, knowing the importance of a win, ensured the control was in their hands. Darion Hurley dunked through front court. Deacons serves, picked up nicely and set up. But it's a lukewarm return, so the play continues. Deacons now into finishing mode, and again Mears is the man. This was a close set, as Chargers also had the plays up their sleeves. Coming in hot is Jonathan Allen. It's the kind of volleyball you love to see, action galore. Chargers do good with this block at the net. But Deacons will take claim to the second set, and here is where it was done. Chargers with the net infringement. Deacons take this one at 25-21. And with the title in their grasp, Deacons was not about to let it slip and held control of the third set throughout. Plays like these will tell you just why. And here is where it was signed and sealed. With the final set is Hurley. Deacons, the final set taken at 25-20, and they repeat as double crown volleyball kings.
A need for personal insurance was among the elements behind the establishing of Guardian Life Insurance. And as the company celebrates its 20th anniversary, Vice President Greg Manette told today's Customer Appreciation Day at the company's Colomorock headquarters, a cross-section of things are getting their attention. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Strengthening their outreach program and developing partnerships within communities are the cornerstones of Guardian Life as it marks its 20th anniversary. And the Vice President of Sales, Greg Manette, outlined the roadmap. We are deepening our thrust towards supporting the community. Guardian has supported the Guardian Life Youth League football for the last 3 years. We are
prominent sponsor of the CPL. We are looking at ways that we could get into these smaller communities and help them up. Along the lines of health and wellness, because that deals with our core business, and as well as academics.
Mr. Manette says the occasion is a milestone for Guardian Life, and agents, clients and staff are at the root of the company's development and its efforts at anchoring lives and bringing people to a better sense of financial independence.
We started off from humble beginnings, recognizing that there was a need for personal life insurance services, and whilst we do have notable and respected players in our space, we swim in our own lane, grow in the way that we would see our vision transcending into the lives of people in the beautiful island of Barbados.
The insurance company official says people are living longer, and although it is a competitive market, their aim is to make the company an easy-to-deal-with industry player.
In keeping with the innovative thrust, we recognize that there are players in the international market that do that. One of the things that operate against us in the Caribbean is just the sheer size of the market. It's very small, and to be able to get reinsurance and other things that make the package wholesome and affordable remains a challenge for all insurers. But we are equal to the task, and as I said, we would continue to look at ways that we could refine the product offerings that we have to make it more accessible for the older market.
The company has started a week of activities which will end with an awards gala on Friday. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
And happy anniversary to everyone on that team. Thank you, Trevor. Barbados is set to transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy in the hopes of achieving carbon neutrality by 2035. But Minister of Energy and Business, Senator Lisa Cummins, says there's still a lot more work to be done. Referring to Cabinet's approval to launch the pre-qualifications process for the wind farm at Lamberts in St. Lucie, Senator Cummins says both the Barbados National Oil Company Limited and the National Petroleum Corporation are working together to ensure this is done. She was speaking at the unveiling of the new Barbados National Energy Company Limited, which opens at Fairy Valley in Christchurch.
We are better together. We are stronger together. We go further together. So together, you now have to launch joint projects. And the Inter-American Development Bank is here not by accident either. You have two joint projects that you're already working on. Together, we have been able to do this thing, which has been talked about for over 10, 12 years. But we've done it together, and we're now at the stage for the first time in over 10 years of launching a request for pre-qualifications.
Interim Chairman of the Barbados National Energy Company Limited, Dr. Asquith Thompson, explains the new entity is an amalgamation of the Barbados National Oil Group of companies, which marks more than just a structural change and is a bold step towards energy innovation and national progress. However, he says the National Petroleum Corporation is not yet a part of the amalgamation, but it will be soon.
This mission reflects our dedication to optimizing operations, enhancing efficiency, and delivering reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy solutions for all Barbadians.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In, Pause is Power, and by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Well, Anne-Marie Burke is back for another slice of sports.
And we start with this news that the Athletics Association of Barbados has announced a record 52-member squad for the 52nd edition of the CARIFTA Games, slated for April 19th to 21st in Trinidad and Tobago. Former CARIFTA champions Finn Armstrong and Ashley Simmons, along with Anaya Nurse, will spearhead the biggest team ever to represent the island at the Caribbean's most prestigious junior track and field meet. It's a quality team which will compete at the Hazley Crawford Stadium in Port of Spain over the Easter weekend. There are 13 on the 17 girls, including BSAT gold medalist Crystal Bentham, and Jaden Hines was originally named, but she's no longer included. 10 boys will compete in the under 17 division. Among them are sprinters Darian Belgrave and Jakai Brewster. 15 under 20 girls have been selected, including Simmons and Nurse, as well as overseas-based sprinters Katie Rock and Maya Rollins. And there are 14 under 20 boys, inclusive of quarter miler Aaron Morris and sprinter Jaden Green. The head coach is Brian Holder. Well, it was celebration time in Waterford this morning as the Combermere School toasted their champion boys team and the girls who finished second in the recently concluded Power A Dasani BSAT Championships. Students, teachers and old scholars joined together to the songs of Steel Pan and cheers from their cheerleading team in celebration of the victory. The athletes were also given tokens of appreciation for their performances. Coach Gerard Murray said the victory came as a result of the hard work they put in and forms part of the winning Combermere culture.
I want everyone here to understand that you can be a part of this winning culture, because it is a winning culture. All Combermereans know how to do is win. We just win. All right, that's what we do. All right, and everything that we do, we put our best foot forward, regardless of if it doesn't work out the way we want it to. We always make sure that we put a good showing down, always. And then when everything is finished, win or lose, we walk with our heads high, chest up, as proud Combermereans. That's the only way I know how to. All right, that's the only way. So it's only fitting that, we understand that what we did was not a shortcoming. It was a victory for us. So we will celebrate this victory as a school, as Team Combermere.
The law school will battle Combermere in the final of the Barbados Secondary Schools Football League Under 16 Knockout Cup competition. Playing at Christchurch Foundation, the law school east passed Pine Hill St. Andrews boys 1-0 in semi-final number 1, while Combermere defeated Queen's College by a 4-1 margin in semi-2. CBC's Damien Best takes a look at that second match.
Semi-final day in the Under 16 Knockout Cup. Combermere in the goal and black playing Queen's College. The boys from Waterford leading 2-0 via Oba Sealy in the 4th minute and Amari Small in the 17th. This is now Israel Watson adding his name to the score sheet. Goalkeeper could have done better. That's the way the cookie crumbles. 3-0 then at the break. Switch of ends, QC would pull one back via a neat little combo. The final pass in space was brilliant. Denari Griffith calm, cool and deadly. 3-1 the score. Combermere pressuring the QC defense with a probing run down the left and into the attacking third. And they would cash in eventually. The goalkeeper, the last hope, he was outfoxed. Amari Small with his brace makes it 4-1. And that's the way it finished. Damien Best, CBC Sports.
Christchurch Foundation are the champions of this year's BIM Chair Barbados National Cheerleading Competition. The cheer squad from Churchill reigned supreme to capture the secondary school's full team division. Queen's College were the runners-up with the St. Michael's School in 3rd. In the primary school full team section, St. George were the winners with Blackman and Gollop 2nd. Shirley Chisholm finished in 3rd. Only 2 schools were represented in the Palm Dance category, which was won by Frederick Smith ahead of the St. Michael's School.
Thanks for spending your time with us. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.